What is the hurry? Why is the government in such a hurry, given the fact that the data protection laws have not been passed? But I have a more basic question for you, which is that if the Minister of, of Law feels that our driver's license is not a foolproof problem, that we can actually run over 4 people, kill 4 people in one state, and go to a different state and issue another driver's license, then isn't the RTO the problem that should be fixed? Why is Aadhaar being used as a solution? We should then, that's a problem of police data records, that's a problem of police databasing, and that's a problem of the RTO. It is not something that you use Aadhaar to fix, Mr. Goenka.
Please guide me, how will the RTO fix it? So RTO is doing this to fix it. If you think this is not appropriate, please guide us. How do we do it? I will listen to you and I'll pass on to the message to the minister.
Fair enough. I'm glad you asked that question. I have experts on the panel. Right, Vinit Goenka, I hope you got suggestions. You asked for suggestions from the panel. Everyone's given their suggestions now. Do you want to respond to what Pawan Duggal just said?
So there was no suggestion. I just heard what, there...
No, I give you the suggestions.
There was no suggestion. Everybody talked about everything on the earth other than what is the suggestion.
So you were obviously not paying attention. Vinit Goenka, I'll tell you
so
what
if you can just tell me the suggestion, because I could not understand a single suggestion.
Vinit Goenka, listen. Nikhil Pahwa said that when you go to a driver's, to the RTO to get your driver's license, that RTO is currently...
I've been listening for 24 minutes. I can listen further also.
Nikhil Pahwa said that when you go to the RTO to get your driver's license, the RTO is currently collecting biometrics. And with that biometrics, the RTO should be able to remove duplications on its own without connecting itself to the Aadhaar database. And there's no reason, while the IT department has a national database right now, while the police department is working on a national database, there's no reason why the RTO shouldn't have a national database. The traffic police shouldn't have a national database either. We obviously, as a country that has come up with Aadhaar, have the ability to do it across other departments as well. My argument and Shailesh and Kailash Vasudev's argument was simply this.
So what is his objection on connecting?
His objection was very clear. His objection was a single point of failure. You're obviously not listening. His objection was a single point of failure. His objection was a security risk. His objection was the fact that it's fundamentally against the spirit of the Supreme Court judgment that said Aadhaar is not to be used on anything that doesn't involve a government subsidy. What part of driver's licenses involve a government subsidy?
You asked many questions. Allow me to speak. Last 34 minutes I've been listening. They have problem with this. These 3-4 people I've been listening for last 2 years. And Supreme Court has already given them all the answers. But yet they keep speaking the same thing. So I don't know whether they are listening to Supreme Court's judgment. What did Supreme Court say? People who benefit. It is a right of a government to put processes in place whereby deemed crimes or crimes which can be foreseen. Do you wait for a crime to happen? If there is a crime to be foreseen, there have to be checks and balances to be done. This is one of the checks and balances suggested by the Honorable Minister. It will be put on the floor of the House. If the floor of the House feels it is appropriate, it will be passed as a law and then it will be implemented. If these 3-4 people feel that it is not appropriate, the bill which when it passes and they feel it is not appropriate, they have a right to go to the court and say, Honorable Supreme Court, the House of the Parliament has passed something which is contrary to your spirit. I think probably they have to learn. The word is benefit. There is a provision of taking data for your licenses. What is an harm connecting the Aadhaar there? It will simplify the thing. It will save a lot of cost. It will save energy. It will also save police their efforts. And also it will be a warning. It will be a checkpoint for the people who would like to do some kind of criminal activity. A. B. In democracy, minister and the government would always like to bring in things which will help the government, which will help the law enforcement agencies to better implement the laws in this thing. Yes, there will be people who will have their opinion. If the opinion is contrary to the bill, which if it passed, then they have a right to go to the Supreme Court. So I have not heard a single suggestion, how do you connect two databases of states. Because the people understand it's a state subject to give driving license. So yes, there are amendments which have been brought by this central government in MV Act and they are been pending in Rajya Sabha. Once it passes, there can be a national repository. We have talked about OVS, online vehicles models, which can also help to streamline things, which will also help in the registration number, cross-border licensing in the state itself. Now, all these things can be done, but there has to be a discussion in the House. They are the real representative. They have been elected. Once they do a discussion, they will bring an amendment. The amendment will be implemented. If these 3-4 people sitting here, they feel these amendments are not in the interest of the country, they have all the democratic right to go to the Supreme Court. Like last time, the Supreme Court asked them to go away, and the implementation were done. This will be done next time, or maybe not be done.
I want to remind Vinit Goenka that the Supreme Court didn't ask anybody to go away. The Supreme Court was actually very clear. The benefit you talk about, the Supreme Court was very clear that that benefit should involve a withdrawal from the Consolidated Fund of India.
License is not your right, madam. It is license. License is given under certain sections. It is given when you fulfill certain conditions. And at one of the honorable
and one of those conditions is not a compulsory link to Aadhaar, because the Supreme Court has said Aadhaar is not compulsory for people who choose to opt out of it.
I'm been hearing 38 minutes, so please hear me out, madam. Hear me out, madam. Hear me out. Have patience. One of your esteemed panelists right now said, those who are in BPL, how can he own a car? License are not taken by only the people who own vehicles. License also taken by drivers who earn their bread and butter, and they fall under BPL also. Many times a person who cannot have money to own something, he takes a license and then earns his bread and butter. So license is not something which you can go and
claim. No, but that has nothing to do with this argument, Vinit Goenka. You're not making a coherent argument. Just tell me this. Your argument, which is, I'm assuming, the minister's argument as well.
So people who are watching this thing, I have made my argument. No. It is the center government which is responsible for safety of the people who are there, and as they feel deemed that somebody who is trying to break the law, there can be a checks and balance which can be brought in, and this is one of the check and the balance which is in the wisdom of the central government which is coming up. This wisdom will translate into a paper which will be put in front of the house. If the house approves that, then it becomes a act. Till that time, it's an idea which has been mooted by the minister, and I support this idea because this will curb people's mentality of taking duplicate licenses which they did in the earlier regimes. So probably this is going to bring transparency, this is going to save energy, this is going to save a lot of effort of the police, and the police can focus on other activities. Okay. And now this 3 or 4 or maybe the microscopic minority who was always against Aadhaar, they have been shown their places by Supreme Court. I don't have to go again and tell them what Supreme Court said.
So Vinit Goenka,
so if you don't want to take license, don't take. If you feel that this is going to compromise your privacy.
Are you accepting today that right now, if someone commits a crime of any sort, whether that is income tax fraud, whether that is murder, whether that's any other kind of crime, including drunken driving, and they move to another state, they can't be traced by the law and order? They can change their names, and unless their Aadhaar is linked, there's no way to find them.
Why should you assume and anybody will assume? No. You are trying to put you are trying to create an analogy.
I'm not. I'm quoting the analogy offered by the minister himself.
That is your assumption.
I'm quoting the analogy offered by the minister himself.
And this is a false propaganda. People who do not understand. We are in 2019. Technology plays a major role in society. It plays both the sides. It plays a good role, also a bad role. So when there are technology changes, you have to be dynamic and amend your laws according to the technology. If there is a technology available today, why won't we embrace that? Why would we show a back to the technology?
All right, I'll open this up.
Why would we always act like what we acted in primitive ages? Because there was no technology at that time. So I think a sensible government will bring in technology to curb a mentality of crime. And this microscopic minority sitting 4 or 5 people who would like to oppose it, they can always go to Supreme Court.